both green deck and black deck. Starting with green deck, as I said earlier, having zero interest makes the game's playstyle a lot weirder. You're focused on using as least hands and discards as possible. Like, yeah, you'll usually want to win in the first hand anyway, but this deck requires that in order to make money. It gets to the point where if you don't win in the first hand and you own multiple rental jokers, you might as well file for bankruptcy. Oh, sucks to suck. You can't afford brainstorming the next shop. Oh, you did? Fantastic! Congratulations! You're already dead because you didn't have a joker that gives any chips or molts. After a while, I started to understand how to play green deck because I've been playing it for a bit now. So now I just needed to find a winning build. I thought it would be this build considering it had so many good jokers, including a negative hanging Chad. But since they were all rentals, that dream would be shot down rather quickly. That being said, it only took me an hour to find an Eternal Riffraff that 9 out of 10 times I would not take. And that Eternal Riffraff turned out to be the best decision ever. It will lead to my best run by far, spawning in a Gross Michael on Ante 1, breaking it, and then spawning in a Cavendish on Ante 2. It was all I needed to survive a couple of antes, but obviously the game had other plans when they gave me a Polychrome Brainstorm and a Dusk back-to-back. I was able to freely fix my deck without worry while scoring millions, I think. I can't tell because I had the worst camera placement ever. And with me finding a blueprint late into the run, all I needed to do now was strengthen a Polychrome 10 I had into a Jack, and then find a Deja Vu to use on this Polychrome Jack. And you can tell I had a pretty normal reaction to all of this happening so quickly. To say this wasn't one of my best gold stake runs is an understatement. It was by far my most enjoyable, and by the end of the run, I was so sad that I couldn't take this run to endless. This run was so good, man. It was so good. God, I love this run. It also made me look at black deck a bit differently. Look, I knew black deck was going to be difficult, but I couldn't imagine it taking much longer than green deck, right? I am here 6 hours later and I am suffering. I truly thought this would have taken 2 hours at max. But turns out, if you have one less hand and the ability to not get a single king if your life depended on it, it makes the game a lot more difficult. Black deck gold stake requires you to make up so much money that you miss out without the extra hand. The game literally throws you down a hill and it's your job not to snowball into another loss. As if the game wasn't rage baiting me enough, it hit me with this goddamn joker. I don't want this. I mean, yeah, sure, I picked it up, but that's because I was already going to lose. Might as well take the joker I hate the most down with me too. Thank God, to be honest. I hate Castle. But after so long, I finally find my footing. With an early Lucky Cat and a Cavendish, it allowed for my molt to be completely covered. And then I found a Brainstorm and a Card Sharp. It was getting to the point where I was so close to beating black deck. I reached Ante 8 with my score pretty much covered. It would be really difficult for me to lose this run. All I needed to do was have my final send-off, find that one hand that could win. I'm so close to winning. All I need to do is draw one more full house and... Oh, well, I'm only 50k off. I'm sure I can definitely do that, especially if I hit one of these lucky cards, right? Let's end this. No! Oh, no. I went from having one of the best runs I've ever had on green deck to suffering loss after loss on black deck. You can quite literally see the time go from day to night. Obviously, I haven't suffered enough. I can't believe I'm spending so much time on this game and even more on this specific run. But fortunately, this would be the last run that I would do. After finding a constellation, I would scale it up a ton until I found an invisible joker, copying the constellation and then finding a fortune teller and Cavendish right after. And with a brainstorm to top it all off, I wouldn't be short on score this time, but instead beat black deck gold stake in only one hand. Let's send it. This is the optimal hand. Oh my god, and of course Space Joker hits. Hell yeah, man. We are completely done. I was already done, but I just wanted to get that footage just to say that I completed both green deck and black deck, not once, but twice. capping off the Completionist Plus achievement, win with every deck on Gold Stake difficulty. Now, as I said earlier, this is re-recorded footage, so you may wonder, what actually happened to the Completionist Plus achievement? This. Yeah. I actually got Completionist Plus while doing Plasma Deck Gold Stake, where I found a Wii Joker and was able to copy it. So at first I was really sad that I couldn't find the footage for Completionist Plus Plasma Deck, because this run was so utterly ridiculous that I really wanted to show it. But guess what I found in the midst of editing? The full run on display. So I'm going to include it just to show how genuinely ridiculous this run was. After copying the second Wii Joker, I had a total of 500 chips across both of them. Now, Plasma Deck isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Plasma Deck also doubles the scaling of each ante, meaning that these blinds were catching up very quickly. I love Wii Joker, but there was no way in hell I was going to be ante 8. I was struggling on ante 6. That would be until I found another invisible Joker. I'm becoming convinced that this run is scripted and I'm not actually aware of it. Completionist Plus requires so much skill and experience to get past Gold Stake on every single deck. Hell, you just saw me struggle for hours to beat Black Deck, and that was for the second time. This is ridiculous. I'm not even playing that well and the game just handed me a third Wii Joker. But since I was already making so many twos, the Wii Joker was just scaling rapidly. But then what is probably the worst boss blind showed up, the Violet Vessel. But instead of being 1.2 million, it's now 2.4. It truly looked like the Wii Joker run would come to an end. But then, in one of the most ridiculous runs that I have ever had, I would get a Luchador when it mattered most, lowering the score requirement from 2.4 million to 800,000. Lowering the score requirement by so much that all I needed to do was play a 4 of a kind and a high card to officially unlock Completionist Plus. I truly don't understand it either. But hey, we only have 2 more achievements left, and it looks like we're almost done. Oh yeah, challenges. And there's 20 of them. You know, it gets to the point where it feels like this game may never end. Challenge Deck is technically the 16th deck in this game, but rather than having Gold Stake or Orange Stakes or any of the different stakes, it's played on White Stake, but the catch is you have 20 different challenges to go with that deck. Now, as I said before, I already beat one of these challenges, but I still have 19 more to go. And as you probably guessed, they get so much worse as they go on. Including one challenge where you only have one hand, another challenge where you can only pick up 3 jokers, and the last challenge where you can't use any jokers at all. This is going to be the death of me. When I first downloaded Balatro, I truly didn't realize how much time I would commit to every deck, every joker, and every achievement. So if I'm gonna make a video of me 100% in this game, I think it's a guarantee that I show every single challenge that I did in order to 100% this game, regardless of how excruciatingly painful it was. But anyways, the first challenge is the omelet. All blinds give 0 reward money now, extra hands also stop earning money, and interest no longer exists. My main source of money comes from these 5 eggs who don't do anything besides gain value. With this being the first challenge, it absolutely isn't the most difficult, but still forced me to focus on greed and making money, while also finding good jokers to survive. I had a run where I was playing towards flushes and flush 5s, specifically playing towards kings of diamonds, but got punished for playing out my seltzer before the wall. That being said, it wouldn't be too long before I got another face card run and scored way more than I needed to win. 15-minute city starts you off with a ride the bus and a shortcut, pretty much forcing me to play towards straights, which I wouldn't mind. Ride the bus was pretty good the first time I used it, and with these 2 investment tags that I got on the first ante, I pretty much started the run with $54. I will buy a flower pot, a hologram, and later a Cavendish, and with this joker lineup, it was all I needed to spam straights until I won. Neat. Rich Get Richer doesn't allow chips to exceed the amount of money I have. It does not matter. I just have a lot of mult and the amount of money I have is irrelevant. The 4th challenge on a nice edge starts you off with an eternal ceremonial dagger that is pinned to the left side of your joker lineup. Whenever a blind is selected, it will literally kill whatever joker is on the right of it. That being said, it gains mult for every joker that it kills. So it can genuinely become a really good scoring joker. I just kept my good jokers away from the knife, and it was an easy win. X-ray vision makes it so there's a 1 in 4 chance that the cards that you're playing are drawn face down. Meaning playing big hands like straights, flushes, straight flushes feel impossible. That's why I just stuck to pairs until I won. Mad World gives you an eternal negative pareidolia and a business card while removing interest and extra hand money. But for whatever reason, I had the best luck in the world and got a Sock and Buskin along with an Oops All 6. This challenge was pretty easy, and I will move on to luxury tax that lowers your hand size the more money that you have. So just spend all your money. It's funny because in the challenge where you don't want to have a lot of money, I got a negative debit card which allowed me to buy more without having to save money. The 8th challenge, non-perishable, makes all jokers eternal. My first run started with me taking a raised fist out of desperation, and I wanted to play towards a Bloodstone Lucky Cat build, but that dream will be shut down very quickly. I will go on to have more bad runs, but as soon as I found this eternal madness in a brainstorm, I knew this run would be the one. Madness gains 0.5 molt for every blind that's selected, but destroys a random joker. But since everything is eternal, it can only gain molt and can't destroy any other jokers, leading to me beating Ante-8 soundly. Look, I know every challenge so far has been pretty easy for me, but I'm also smart enough to know that not every challenge is like Medusa where you just have haha funny stone card. The next challenge will be double or nothing. Every card that's played will become debuffed after scoring. This challenge in theory is extremely difficult. I have to play my cards very carefully because the next thing you know, they're all going to be debuffed. I was playing around with different things trying to figure out what works and what doesn't until I realized something. Pairs. Pairs are probably one of the best hands for gold stake runs because they're easy to play and blue seals only make them stronger. Combining them with a joker like Supernova along with a Constellation or any X-Molt in general, and I would have the first page of challenges complete in no time. Typecast is one of the harder challenges so far, based on its gimmick of making all jokers eternal after Ante-4. And if you think you can use negative jokers, it also sets all joker slots to 0. For my first run, I had an amazing setup, a photograph, blueprint, and 2 dusks, along with a Red Seal King. I was literally scoring 787,000 on Ante-4, and it was only going to get better. I was going to set up my deck, and but that didn't last long. Fortunately, in my next run, I got another photograph with Hanging Chad and Sock and Buskin, overall better support and 0 plants to stop me this time. Inflation raises the price on everything by $1 for every purchase made. The whole setup process can be a nightmare considering how many purchases you do make in a run. But hey, while everything around us may be horrible, at least the egg prices are the same. $12! As I said before, it can be difficult to work with the higher prices, but after getting another red seal and turning it into a lucky card king, I was hitting money shot after money shot, even having more than enough money to pick up a $42 egg by the end of the run. Challenge 13, Bram Poker, would give me an Eternal Vampire, an Empress and an Emperor tarot card, the Magic Trick voucher, and the Illusion voucher, but stops all jokers from appearing in shops, so you can only get them from tarot cards and packs. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't even notice that it took jokers out of shops until I started writing the script. Balls. Mainly because there were no restrictions, meaning that packs were still around, so it basically made all of that irrelevant. I had a really good start where I found a nat negative photograph and then an ecto shortly after that I used on my vampire. I was already thinking this would be a winning run, but I guess I wasn't strong enough to beat the small blind on Ante-2. After dying for the first and last time, I would replay the challenge again and create a 5 of a kind that would, to put it bluntly, steamroll through every blind by itself. Look, I honestly wish that these challenges were a little more difficult, because it is disgustingly easy to scale a vampire build into scoring well into the millions. Sure, I've been getting lucky as well, but come on, Monolith was one of the easiest challenges yet. It gives you a negative marble joker that adds stone cards to my deck with an obelisk to go along with it. All I had to do was just find a hologram that synchronizes perfectly with marble joker, a brainstorm to scale it even further, and then a vampire that literally removes the effect of stone cards to give me times molt. We have a times 12 hologram, a times 3.7 vampire, a times 3.6 vampire, and an obelisk that's times 2.6. Send it off. Huh. Maybe streamer luck is real after all. I will say, Fragile was probably one of the coolest challenges thus far. It starts you off with 2 negative oops all 6s and a deck full of glass cards. My mission was to figure out how to play the game without breaking my entire deck. Now again, I got really lucky when I found a glass joker at the very start of the run. It literally benefits off of glass breaking, so come on, am I just not gonna take it? But I was also skipping blinds when I found it necessary so I didn't break too much. That being said, at the end of the game, I found a DNA, so I really wasn't losing any cards beyond that point. And with Fragile complete, I can now take a breather knowing that I only have 5 more challenges left. Challenge 16, Blast Off. This goddamn challenge gives you an Eternal Constellation and Rocket, while limiting your Joker slots to 4 and only gives you 2 hands per round. Breathe. Dying early is common. Dying in general is common on this challenge. Now, the game gives you Planet Tycoon so you can scale your constellation faster, but it won't matter if you can't play the correct hand. I decided to set my focus on 2 pairs since they scale fast and they're pretty easy to find. As long as I could find Uranus and some blue seals, I was able to consistently feed the constellation in my 2-pair levels. I then found an Ancient Joker and a Smear Joker that I could build into, and I was scoring a lot more than I needed to beat Ante-8. But oh boy, the Crimson Heart had other plans. As soon as I got into the boss, bam, Ancient Joker was disabled. Okay, I'll just play a hand and hope it hits one of my bad jokers. Oh, it literally targeted my 2 scoring jokers, and now I'm forced to replay all 8 antes all over again. I truly hate Blast Off. It's such a nightmare challenge, and maybe that's what it's about, making the player suffer as much as possible. Regardless of how well the run was going, or if it didn't get started to begin with, this game had 0 grace for me on this challenge. That being until the unsuspected Drunkard came and saved my run. Now, all Drunkard does is give +1 discard, but when I tell you that it played such a monumental role in me winning this run, I was able to draw my blue seal so consistently, scaling up my 2-pair and constellation by so much. It was honestly ridiculous on how well it was going, and it was all thanks to this Drunkard right here. But it seems that every time I start winning with kings, this game decides to send the plant to shut me down. Thankfully, I was ready. I had glass cards, lucky cards, and a constellation that was scaled up to 5.2x mold. It might have been destiny for me to pull all the cards I needed to get past the plant, the manacle, and eventually the amber acorn. First, we're gonna play this. Let's see if it wins. It already won, and that is, oh my god. Oh my god. It's so long. I hate Blast Off so much. Hey, so I only now realized that I didn't include 5-card hand. I didn't record it either. There's no footage of it existing. So that's why I just went out and played it again. I could do it with the other challenge that I skipped over earlier, but nah. But regardless, what you're seeing right now is just like short little snips of the run. In conclusion, pairs are really good, and I won. And I am, oh wait, I forgot to do things. I'm sure it won't matter. Alright, well, I won't know what I did until okay, I don't think it matters. I'm just gonna play. Yeah, it did not matter. GG's. GG's. Even compared to the next challenge, Golden Needle, that gives you 1 hand per round but gives you 6 discards, it wasn't even as close to as difficult as Blast Off. And while I had 1 close call where I scored the exact amount required, the rest of the challenge was really easy. But now we only have 2 challenges left, what are supposed to be the hardest challenges in the game by far. So it's time for me to lock in and set my sights on Cruelty. As the name suggests, Cruelty takes away all the money that you make from both small blinds and big blinds. Now, that's a lot already, but it also minimizes your Joker slots from 5 to 3. With everything that's been done so far, I think this game only wants to prolong my suffering. I was so confused on how to go about beating Cruelty, and it was so frustrating. In one run, I had 2 photographs that could have easily led me to a free win, but since I didn't find a jack while looking for a straight, I just lose. I ended up getting a photo chat that cleared most antes, but yet again, I was short on score when it mattered the most. If I couldn't beat Cruelty, how in the hell was I supposed to beat the last challenge Jokerless? But in the very end, the game decided to bless me with a legendary Joker, and then another legendary Joker, and then an invisible Joker. My luck spiked out of nowhere, and suddenly I have 2 copies of 2 different legendary Jokers. I'd like to assume that the game was tired of seeing me suffer and pretty much handed me a win on a silver platter, and I was not going to complain. And hey, we only have one more challenge left now. Jokerless. The rules of this challenge are extremely simple. Jokers no longer appear in shops. Not only do Jokers not appear in shops anymore, but they removed all methods of Jokers appearing in general. They also went and removed every anti-8 boss related to Jokers. Meaning the only way to beat this challenge is finding a way to score 300,000 against the Violet Vessel only using tarot cards and planet cards. I decided that the best hand for the job would be straight, specifically because how they scale by each level. Like every other run, I managed to build into my straights, getting past the halfway point of anti-4 with ease. Sure, I might have had a hard time finding my hand due to being unlucky, but it is so unlikely to happen again. Oh my god, oh my god, like what the actual fuck? Oh my fucking god, that's so unreal. That's actually so unreal. 4 queens. Oh my god, they have the nerve to give me the lucky card, dude. Okay. Alright, well, it's only been an hour. I'm sure I can find a run like that again. You end up doing so many runs where you literally start to lose track of time. Losing again and again, and in some of the most unfortunate ways possible. At the start of this video, you're literally cheesing away, losing on anti-1 on white stick, but it's okay because you're excited to play the game. Now you're 300 hours deep into this game, ready to break your keyboard over not being able to pull the correct flowy-shaped queen in time. This pain and suffering must come to an end. And shut up with that goddamn losing sound! There was even a point where I finally got my winning run. Everything was coming together, and it genuinely could have been the point where I beat Jokerless. 7 antis in, hours of gameplay put into these runs. I was more than sure that this straight could beat the Violet Vessel, much less this big blind. But it turns out I obviously had too many hard cards because I accidentally played a straight flush rather than a regular straight. Oh. Maybe Go Fish is more your speed. What even is Go Fish anyway? Go Fish is a simple game that is popular with children. My 6-year-old son, for example. I don't need to read all this. I got this. Mike, do you have any 8s? Yeah, eat it, Mike. Stupid idiot. Bill, do you have any aces? Of course you don't. You're actually just useless. Bill takes a trick of aces. Dude, why is this guy... Oh my god, this guy is so weird, bro. I didn't know I was playing with pro players. Oh my days. Yeah, that's what we like to see. Hold on, I'm back in the game, high key. And I asked Mike. Mike, you have nothing. You have nothing going for yourself. You have a 3. Dude, just take them. Just take them. Nice. Congrats. Happy for you. Good game, Mike. Well, look, I was never a Go Fish player. I was more of a Balatro player to begin. All of these Jokerless attempts spanned over the course of 3 days, and I was suffering throughout every second of it. My mental went down the drain a long time ago, to the point where even this Polychrome 9 that could have changed my runs completely didn't bring any joy. I actually thought I was going to lose on anti-4, but I had just enough score to get by the 10,000 mark. I was getting all the tarots I needed. I was getting blue seal value and gold card value. I was able to make one of the strongest builds I could imagine in no time. And with only 3 antis left, I had more than enough score to pull this off. I even had some of the strongest cards that I could have made. I would then have to face one of the hardest bosses up to this point, the Mark. This boss blind makes all face cards drawn face down, making straights harder to find because you're literally guessing where they are. Thankfully, I managed to pull every single card required. Now all I needed to do was get past anti-7, which was honestly disappointingly easy. Like, the boss blind didn't even affect me. All I needed to do was just play a couple glass cards, and now we're finally at anti-8. I was able to clear through the small blind and big blind, but I was stressing. Because what if I don't get the exact cards that I need? My deck was good, but I was worried it wasn't going to be good enough to score 300,000. But with my final shop giving me 2 Justice cards, I was able to find every single card I needed and made more than enough glass, playing the strongest hand that I could have. Now all I needed to do was score 300,000, beat Ante-8, and gain my 30th achievement after beating all 20 challenges, Rule Breaker. The straight to send us off. Boom, boom, boom. Fuck yeah! After so long, finally. I hate you, Jokerless. I hate you. Now, all that's left is Completionist plus plus. Earn a gold sticker on every single Joker, meaning I have to beat Gold Stake with every single Joker. Now, to be honest, Completionist plus plus was not necessarily difficult. It was just long. So for my own sanity, rather than talking about how I beat Gold Stake with insert random Joker here, I'm gonna summarize it with this. Why is it that when I needed a Joker the most, it never showed up? Invisible Joker, Roast Michael, Hit the Road. All of them were so difficult to find. And that doesn't even include the runs that I lost. But with every other Joker done at this point, all I had left was Fortune Teller. Now, to avoid confusion, I did beat Gold Stake with Fortune Teller earlier, but that was re-recorded, so yeah. But after finding my Eternal Fortune Teller, I knew this would be the run. 8 more antes until this game was complete. And man, I was ready to go. I have been at this for like 3 or 4 months. This may be too much Belatra consumption for any regular human being. But now, we're at the closing act. Hanging Chad, Blueprint, Wee Joker, Hologram, and Fortune Teller. All roads led to this very moment. Let's end it with a good one, man. Let's end it with a good one. Whew. Oh my god. It's finally over. Alright, where's my achievement at, man? And I wouldn't get the achievement because achievements act wonky with mods for some reason. Woo! Yay! So this is it. The last 5 set of Jokers that I'd used before I got my Completionist plus plus achievement. A foil bull, half Joker, bootstraps, polychrome buccaneer, and throwback. Meaning, after 300 hours of gameplay, 150 Jokers, 20 challenges, and 15 different decks completed, I can confidently say that I have 100% completed Belatra. From beginning this video on White Stake to ending this video with it 100% completed, putting over 300 hours into the game, even re-recording footage that I didn't have initially, the only thing I can show for it is this. Wow. I'm never doing this again.
Medalla, the mark of a fighter.
Hey y'all, Scott here, and brace yourself fellow family members, specifically those who are insecure about your placement in the family, because we have a new addition to the family, Ringo the Fly, an absolute all-star if I've ever seen one. I bought him at the pet store recently, completely house-trained. Watch as he avoids the swatter. Yeah, this could have been easily avoided. The death of a loved one is definitely no fun, especially when that loved one is Chibi Robo. The video game industry has often been accused of rehashing the same tired franchises rather than churning out fresh new ones. Call of Duty, Battlefield, FIFA, Mario, Pokemon, Forza, Assassin's Creed, the amount of times you'll see these names on store shelves year after year surely defines an overdose. But for every franchise a company won't stop pumping out, there's like 4 more they own they have done absolutely nothing with for the past eon and a half.
dead franchises, series that have been put on hold or simply never to be heard from again for one reason or another. Some have been dormant for some time, and some have recently been resurrected after long thought of to be dead. Sega is one of the best when it comes to not giving a piss about their franchises. I'd consider almost every single one of their IPs to be dead. Golden Axe, Jet Set Radio, Space Channel 5, Vector Man, Alex Kidd, Virtua Fighter, basically anything that's not Sonic, Yakuza, or Valkyria Chronicles has not been touched by Sega in at least 5 years. Most of these series are relegated to nothing more than compilation titles and cameo appearances. A shame, truly. Nintendo isn't as guilty as Sega, but definitely isn't getting off scot-free when it comes to leaving franchises in a hot-locked car. Chibi Robo, the most underappreciated of the underappreciated. The main game people remember him for is the first game on the GameCube because, well, it was a Chibi Robo game, an adventure in a big house as a tiny robot. He's gotten multiple games since then, but they aren't what people consider main Chibi Robo games, and are more so spin-offs. Either that, or they're put in circumstances where it's impossible for the game to do well. Chibi Robo Park Patrol was a Walmart exclusive, and Nintendo probably blamed Chibi Robo when the game didn't sell well. You got two 3DS titles, one being an eShop exclusive Photo Finder, which is more so a smaller game based around taking pictures, and the other being Ziplash.
This game blows!
This is not what any game franchise deserves. Not only did no Chibi Robo fan ever ask for a 2D platformer for the character, but nobody asked for a bad one at that. It's so generic, bland, and just not fun at all, yet Nintendo said that the future of the franchise depended on the success of Ziplash. I'll see ya, Chibi Robo. The F-Zero franchise has been in the ground for the past 14 years, possibly left to rot because Mario Kart is Nintendo's main racing series. I guess they'd rather focus on that one instead. Shigeru Miyamoto has stated that the main reason an F-Zero game hasn't been made in such a long time has been the lack of new ideas. They simply haven't come up with a good idea on where to take the series, and if a new controller brings forth a new idea, then a new F-Zero game will shortly follow. Now that implies F-Zero hasn't been on Nintendo's mind since the last release, but it's been reported that Nintendo went to burnout developer Criterion in 2011 and asked them to develop a new F-Zero for the Wii U. However, they were too busy at the time to take it on, which is a mega bummer. That would have been the coolest. 1080 snowboarding, wave race, custom robo, Star Tropics, so many series that weren't given another look for over a decade. Nintendo truly has loads of dormant IP, it's insane. One many will surely point out is Earthbound/Mother, which is done mainly because the creator Shigesato Itoi considers Mother 3 to be the end and has no plans for more entries. But who knows, maybe somebody else at Nintendo can take over and make a fourth game. Back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, the music game craze was hitting hard, with industry titans EA and Activision duking it out with their respective Rock Band and Guitar Hero franchises. Not only were they releasing new titles annually, but they both flicked the holy shit slow down switch on by releasing multiple titles yearly, and EA specifically flicked the just kill it now switch with Lego and Green Day Rock Band. Listen, these weren't just games that were getting released constantly. These were $100+ sets that were taking up shelf space and flooding the market. It makes sense that these things completely died out. They simply were oversaturated to the point where many consumers didn't care to constantly buy them. But then, hope glimmered. Rock Band developer Harmonix and Activision decided to resurrect their rhythm games for another go the same year with Rock Band 4 and Guitar Hero Live. Yep, the tried and true resurrection tactic works every time. Every time. The music game genre was completely beaten to death, literally back in the day, and when they gave it another shot, not enough people cared, or at least not as many as before. Another franchise Activision burned to the ground was Skylanders, the Toys to Life game featuring another dead franchise people can't get enough of, Spyro the Dragon. Poor Spyro was used as a sacrificial lamb for Skylanders' success. His name appeared in the first game's subtitle just to ignite interest in the franchise, and when it took off, well, Spyro was kind of pushed to the side. Kids and collectors went bonkers for this series, and it saw a new installment every single year, until 2017, where Activision decided to halt development due to declining sales. They wanted to hop out of the sinking ship before it became a sinking ship on fire, just like Guitar Hero did. Skylanders inspired other companies to throw their hat in the Toys to Life ring, and almost every single one of them saw some success, but then saw cancellation. Disney Infinity was a very similar concept, but with Disney characters and worlds, and the project was put to an end and shelved after version 3.0. And LEGO Dimensions saw the same fate as well, with further development of the project ending. And with that, I will give my world-famous response to these games ending development.
The following is owned by Scott Wozniak.
While a cool idea at first, these things flooded the market and overwhelmed and kind of annoyed everybody.
I use PayPal to buy this ticket, paying it off over time. No fees, no interest.
You know what else has no interest? Me.
You can pay your own way.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
The captain needs you back in the cockpit.
Oh, yeah, sir.
American Musical Supply is your stop for anything and everything music. With hundreds of brands and 4 warehouses nationwide, you can get all the gear you need in 2 days or less. Add in 0% interest financing, along with an all-musician customer service team, and you can see why millions of musicians have chosen AMS. Ready to see the AMS difference for yourself? Head over to AmericanMusical.com.
Now you want to talk dead, let's talk Rare. Originally a Nintendo developer, Rare created some instant classics: Banjo-Kazooie, Killer Instinct, Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day. Then when making the leap into the console market, Microsoft purchased the company so they could nab some killer exclusives on the original Xbox. They did nothing for them. Rare literally barely released anything of note after the Microsoft acquisition. Like, yeah, some titles were quality, but nowhere near as iconic as their original hits. It's definitely fair to consider the vast majority of Rare series dead. Sure, Killer Instinct made a pretty stellar comeback, but Conker and Banjo-Kazooie, it's not looking too bright for these guys at this very moment. Especially because the most they've been used for has been compilations and tech demos. That's basically it. Sometimes a game series can be considered dead while it's still going on, one main example being Metal Gear Solid. Hideo Kojima announced Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain would be the last in the long-running franchise, and before the game's release, Konami had a major corporate shakeup with new hirees and firees. Later, the famous term on most Metal Gear games, a Hideo Kojima game, and any mentioning of Kojima's studio Kojima Productions were removed from the Phantom Pain's website and box art. However, Kojima confirmed that he was going to be with the Phantom Pain's development until the very end. Konami was not a great place to work. Far from it. With cameras monitoring employees' every movement, berating and humiliating employees who make mistakes, and restricting Kojima Productions workers from corporate utilities and internet access. The way they pushed Kojima out of the company was far from ideal, especially considering he was basically the face of the company, and they treated his name like it was the plague, stripping it off of his products and renaming Kojima Productions to number 8 production department. Why would Konami do this? Possibly because they wanted to focus on their mobile game and pachinko business, with AAA game development being incredibly expensive, especially anything Kojima touched, even though his projects usually turned out to be quite successful. With The Phantom Pain released, Kojima considered the Metal Gear series to be complete, but of course Konami didn't think that themselves and later announced Metal Gear Survive, a budget, online, microtransaction-infested survival game, which isn't necessarily what people want to see from Metal Gear, a series based around stealth and espionage. Kojima officially left Konami and started a new Kojima Productions himself, where he is developing the PS4 game Death Stranding, which seems to be taking elements from a game he was working on at Konami that got cancelled, Silent Hills. Silent Hill is a fan-favorite survival horror series originating on the PlayStation 1. It continued to get installment after installment, and then, bam, Silent Hills announced, a breath of fresh air, one of the most prolific horror experiences in gaming ever released, and of course cancelled. It was all due to Kojima and Konami's little spat. Haven't heard from Silent Hill since that cancellation, disregarding any machine related to Japanese gambling. While we're on the topic, Konami, man, what a company of corpses. Contra, Gradius, Castlevania, Konami doesn't seem all too interested in bringing these series back in any sort of legitimate game experience. Alas, dead franchises don't always stay dead. Keiji Inafune, the artist and later producer of the Mega Man series, left Capcom in late 2010, a few months after the release of Mega Man 10. After his departure, it seemed as if Capcom had no idea what it wanted to do with the Mega Man franchise. The game Mega Man Universe, which was basically a Mega Man level creator, was cancelled in March of 2011, with it being basically completely finished. Mega Man Legends 3 was being developed for the 3DS, but was quickly cancelled after the announcement of a prototype. A gritty first-person reboot of the franchise entitled Maverick Hunter was never announced, but cancelled in 2010. Salt was added to the wounds of Mega Man fans when Mega Man was announced as a guest character in the PlayStation versions of Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and while it was meant to be taken as just a dumb joke, the use of the bad box art version of Mega Man from the first game was not handled well at all by fans in the context of Mega Man's state. The most Mega Man got from 2010 to 2017 were mobile games, re-releases of older titles, a Capcom-endorsed fan game, and a Super Smash Bros. Appearance. Mega Man was basically considered to be dead. That is until the announcement of Mega Man 11 late last year. There is a God, and wow, it's incredibly anticlimactic that it turned out to be Capcom. But man, that is almost a decade of no games, when previous years housed too many Mega Man games, sprawling all kinds of different genres and series. The Metroid series was one of Nintendo's most famous dormant franchises for quite a while. Metroid took a hiatus from the release of 1994's Super Metroid to 2002's Metroid Prime and Fusion. And then things were looking pretty good for the series until Other M. Yikes. Other M was developed by Team Ninja, and while a structurally decent game, did numbers to the story and made the game an overall negative experience for most fans. 2010 was the last we heard from the series until 2015 with the announcement of Metroid Prime Federation Force, a 4-player first-person co-op game for the Nintendo 3DS where you control nameless soldiers. 2010 was the last we heard from the series until 2017 with the announcement of Metroid Prime 4 and Metroid Samus Returns. Selling poorly, a loss of talent, a lack of focus, oversaturation, negative reception, all can kill a franchise off. But unlike a fly, death isn't permanent most of the time in the video game industry. Just because a game developer hasn't made a new series entry in a while, doesn't mean it will never not happen again. We will see a new F-Zero, we will see a new Chibi Robo, a new Banjo-Kazooie, a new Castlevania, a new Road Rash, a new Dino Crisis, a new Chrono game. It'll happen, guys, don't sweat it. What may not work out now, may work in the future. Come on, Mega Man is back, Metroid is back, XCOM is back, fucking Bubsy. Anything's possible. If you're a fan of a certain series that hasn't seen any love recently, there's a pretty decent shot that someday, it'll be back.
You know, on second thought, I think I was being a bit too rash burying Ringo. I think I'm gonna pull a video game company and turn my dead property into cash. I'm gonna return him to the pet store. He was on clearance.
As CIO, I connected our teams through Jira AI-powered teamwork software. Our PR department connected us with this.
My vision?
Hey y'all, Scott here. 9 steps ago, I wanted to experience hardships and indigestion. But then I discovered this 9-step plan on how to successfully fail in the video game industry. And now I'm finally broke.